Grandma, where's Grandma? Grandma, what happened to you?
You know what? I moved.
Grandma, I hate to tap aspersions, but when I was talking to Clem, you reminded me of the kids from delivery. Now, I hate to say anything about the family, but what about that?
You talking about something again?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry to bring in something up like that. I guess back in that area, you're all good. All right, really, anything influence will help. I don't want to use this because down at the motor lot. I don't know.
Well, you know how it is. If you get up in the morning, you got that crossroad.
Yeah.
On little sign, there's a lot of kids.
How much good does a lot of time do?
Oh, we never even want to sport in the morning.
I don't blame you. By the way, love your outfit. I was looking at the label back here.
Well, it is Sunday, Mr. Announcer Man.
Bluesy feathers.
Well, you know,
where do you get that?
I get more working men that way with my peekaboo.
Nice girl, but about as sharp as a sack of wet money.
Oh, okay. I've learned to have respect for our parents and grandparents. So, Granny, where's that? Yeah, where did he go? Where is he? Where'd he? Oh, he went to. He saw a tree. He saw a tree over there, so he went over to see if old Blue was under the tree. All right, well,
I think we ought to be able to find out Blue here pretty quick, man.
we'll send the guys from Fallon. That's what they do. They search and rescue. We'll get those guys up and see if we can find the parts. I mean, the airplane, the Super Cub, loaned to us by Al and Mike. And that's probably the last time we'll ever do that. We'll send out the experts. At least he's not here. At least that. He's not here. All right, we're moving the engine now. We're moving the engine. Here goes the engine, and we're moving the engine. We try to regroup. While we try to regroup, we're going to have a feature for you. I came into town, and I got to the airport. I saw this engine on a test stand. It's being moved in front of you now, and it got my curiosity. I said, whose is it, and what's it for? Because it had a very exotic propeller system. And they confirmed that it was a Rolls-Royce engine, common to those that propelled the Supermarine Spitfire and the Hawker Hurricane of the Battle of Britain, and then later used on Army Air Corps fighters when America entered the war. Built by the Rolls-Royce company, it's known as the Merlin Engine. And when a lot of engines were needed for our fighters during World War II, the Packard Motor Car Company of Detroit took to building these engines and improving them under license by Rolls-Royce of the UK. And then after the war, to be able to be utilized as an airliner engine on the British equivalent of our Douglas DC-7 piston-powered, propeller-driven airliner, much like the Lockheed Constellation. They were all piston-powered engines at large displacement. Well, the British used an engine that they had, but they extracted more horsepower out of it through technology than it had in World War II. And the one that went on the airliners had well over 2,000 horsepower, was known as the Griffin Rolls-Royce engine. Now, we've had a little bit of schooling on how to extract power from an engine. So what they did, look at the two propeller sets. They have contra-rotating propellers to absorb that great amount of horsepower, over 2,200 horsepower. So watch what the propellers do when they crank up this engine on the engine stand. This was a way they found to get speed in the air, and it was the technology that was common, not only on piston-powered engines, but even in the era of our Boeing B-52 jet. The jet equivalent that the Russians were using, they call it the Bear, it used a turboprop engine. Yes, they had a jet engine like the B-52 that we had, but they used props on it. Now, when you do that, it equates to a a slower speed because you hook up that prop to a reduction gearbox on that jet engine, and you'll never get really great speed like a pure jet, but you'll get great fuel efficiency. You'll also be restricted to lower altitudes as well. We opted in the D-52, even though the initial design by Boeing was a turboprop. Now watch the props going opposite direction. This is the starting procedure. And what you're going to hear is the sound of money. These engines have become very rare, typical of the engines that are used in the unlimited class at Reno Racing next month. The world's fastest motorsport, where the airplanes, the World War II fighters of that era, are being powered by a liquid-cooled.
I'm waiting for Greg to come back.
Like
Waiting for Greg to come back.
or like its predecessor, or the radial air-cooled engines common to the companies like Pratt & Whitney. Temperamental starting engines. Now it's got short exhaust stacks, so it's going to have a bark to it. Just like yesterday, I equate that bark to money. Now there's going to be a warm-up procedure. The engine has cooling, just like your automobile or your personal truck. It has a radiator. And forward speed of the airplane, when the air going through the radiator cools the coolant. Now in the era of World War II, in the dogfight arena, the enemy knew if we shot holes in your radiator, your coolant would drain out, your engine would overheat, and you would have the glide ratio of a cement block. The air-cooled radial engines had an advantage because they were very tough engines. And it's been known that one complete cylinder was blown away off of an engine, and the remaining cylinders still running would get the pilot back to his home base. And like the cooling on your riding or push lawnmower is completely cooled by air. It has cooling fins, and against the forward motion of the airplane, the air coming into the cowling, gathering up the heat from those fins on the cylinders, and then exiting out the rear of the cowling area. That's how those engines get their cooling. Once the temperatures are up, oil temperature is up to minimum spec, so it's not cooling the engine. If they do what they did yesterday, they're going to go on a power run. The Rolls-Royce Griffin engine with counter-rotating propellers. Now, at Reno, over the years, they have used these engines in racing airplanes just to have more horsepower. But luck always hasn't been good, because what happens to those 6 propeller blades going in opposite directions? If you have a gearbox failure, or the engine loses power, or the engine fails, what you have out in front is a big speed brake. And there's been some very great racing pilots who, with this combination, did have those types of problems. They were not able to make it back for an emergency landing on the runways of our race course at Stead Airport, about 8 miles outside of Reno. Almost Reno Air Racing for this year, the 48th consecutive year, with one hesitation. 10 years ago, 9/11, kept us from racing all year. And I remember the difference in the airplane.
at the sound of power. Folks, you multiply that sound times 7, and those are the sounds you're going to hear next month, September 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, as the mighty unlimited class, the world's fastest motorsport, will be sporting these types of engines as the airplanes, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, rate each other 50 feet off the sagebrush outside of Reno, Nevada. The world's fastest motorsport using these types of engines. Oh, that was a pure, great sound to me. I love that. Greg Colyer in the T-33 heading back home after volunteering his time, his airplane, and his fuel for this great event and this very worthwhile cause. He'll be at a show somewhere next weekend flying this or another one of his aircraft. Now, with all that going on, with helicopters in the air selling rides for $35, that's off to our right. What happened to Clem Hopper? Where did that guy go? Air Boss
Mr. Clisham?
Yes, you called me Danny, if you would.
Okay, Danny boy.
Yes.
Danny boy. You know, while we're waiting on Clem, because I just don't know where Clem's gone, could you introduce me to the ski wheel feller here?
No, he's busy. That's Jay Rabbit from Air Show 1. He's a volunteer, brought all his equipment free of charge here.
Well, what I know is I got jackrabbits at home. Is that anything like a jackrabbit?
Oh, no, that's Jay Rabbit, and not like Clem Hopper. That's
Jay Rabbit bigger than jackrabbit?
Jay
I know that, dude.
You leave that kid alone. He's working hard in there. No, leave him alone. Don't break his concentration. Grandma, where's Clem Hopper? Where'd that kid go out there?
Hey, you good folks out there see my boy? Anybody see Blue? Just look for them rims dropping out of the sky. That's where it be. I can't see. Can you see? Tell me, buddy, you see Clem? No, I don't see. Hey, Clem, you see Clem?
I don't see.
Well, that's all these kids up and they can't find him.
Okay, let's see.
Was that an army plane he took?
Looked like it said Army on it.
Does that mean
How do you hear the yellow airplane? Come in.
Hey, Yellow Army Airplane, this is Danny. Where you at, boy?
Oh, this is for Nelson, sir. I got some fast things. I've been up to controls of this airplane and now it's stop.
Well, it's going to stop in time. If you don't land it, it's going to run out of gas.
Don't run out of gas. I'm straight over the top of the airplane.
Well, talking about a flight airplane. What's that?
Remember, there he is, directly overhead.
Hey, jump on that ramp. I'm getting shot.
Okay, don't melt whatever you do. Just keep heading east till you see a big bunch of water and some storms, and there they'll be happy to land you there.
You just quit.
Put some shine in it. That'll make it work. Put some shine in that engine, honey. That'll make it work.
Always in a spin, Grandma.